ready to get inspired. This is the Go4thegoldy Podcast.
Good afternoon and welcome to a special matinee edition of the Go4thegoldy Podcast. It's episode 42, but it's the first one from the new studio here in Frisco, Texas. And today I'm joined by a special guest. He's a CrossFit coach, OCR racer, ninja warrior, and I'm sure we're going to find out a lot of other things he does. Joining me from Brenham, Texas, it's Neil Krebs. Neil,
what's going on, man?
To the show. How are you, man? Thanks for coming on.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm really excited about this one. I know I say this on like a lot of different shows, but specifically you, because I am just enamored by this whole OCR world that I just stumbled upon last weekend, and
welcome to the addiction.
I got triggered real quick.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, OCR stands for obstacle course racing. So you're talking Tough Mudder, you're talking Bone Frog, you're talking Spartan Race, all that kind of stuff. So, let's get things kicked off here, Neil, with just a quick intro about yourself. I know I gave a real high level one, but it's never better than the person themselves actually giving their own introduction. So take it away.
Yeah, for sure. And for anybody that's like in the 30 plus category, back in the old chat rooms, you used to have like the ASL, right? Like the A-sex location. The young kids don't know anything about that today, but yeah, my name is Neil Krebs. I'm 34 years old, and let's go real basic, right? So married for 11 years to my lovely wife. We've got 3 young boys that are all actually 9 and younger now. Geez, my oldest is getting up there. And so they're 9, 7, and 6. So our house just stays crazy, right? It stays rambunctious. And, I'm one of those guys where I don't even know where to start, right? Because I've kind of done everything. I'm like a jack of all trades. And so I know today we're talking about fitness and all that. I'm a digital marketer by trade. So I do like websites, social media, and things like that, which is probably kind of how you stumbled across me. I've been trying to build that personal brand a little bit more and just kind of put some stuff out there and help some people. But overall, if I had to kind of describe myself, I'm one of those guys that just loves to live life to its fullest, live intentionally, inspire others the best that I can. And that's kind of where I got into all of this stuff that we're going to be talking about today.
That's awesome, man. I think I just met the Texas version of myself, so this is going to be a good talk. I'm originally from New York. I'm from Buffalo, but I'm the same exact age as you. I'm 34. For the time being, I turned 35 in July.
You're my senior then.
Okay, yeah, I'm the old man.
So we're
then.
Clear, you're old. No.
Very old, very old. But yeah, it's very interesting. And I think, I don't remember exactly, but I think I came across you because of the Spartan race I did at Cowboys Stadium last weekend.
Yeah.
And I came, whatever someone likes or comments or something like that, because I'm doing the same thing, and it's not, I want it to be organic. Anyone can buy clicks or buy likes or whatever, but I want to develop a community of like-minded individuals who have that passion for what they're doing, and it's organic. You can see that you have a history of grinding, and it's kind of all encompassing with what you do. So first of all, I said a couple things that you do, so I guess we'll just kind of pick them off like one by one, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with the CrossFit coach. So how long have you been doing CrossFit? And you coach at the Brenham CrossFit gym, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I coach at Brenham CrossFit. I've been there, it seems about 3 years now, I believe. And what brought me over to CrossFit was actually kind of in tangent with the obstacle course racing world. And so I had run a Spartan race, the Spartan Houston, back in 2018. It was just a sprint, and I wanted to get better at obstacles, right? Like hanging from stuff. And I was working out like at a locally owned box, if you will, or just a regular gym. They've got the free weights, they've got the machines and all of that. And, I got into CrossFit because I remember one day I went in there to work out and I really wanted to get better at the monkey bars, right? And the Spartans, they have like the rigs where you're going up, you're going down, you've got rings, you've got ropes and all of that stuff. And so I was like, man, I really need to train grip. Well, I jumped in the squat rack one day because there was 2 bars going across the top and there was one across kind of the front, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, that'd be cool, like practice, getting up and going up on a transition. And so I got in the squat rack and I start going across it back and forth like monkey bars going up and down. And I remember getting down and kind of, when I looked around and like I was getting all these looks.
I can imagine how well that went over with the big, meatheads that, are doing max squats every day or whatever.
Yeah, they're like, what is this guy doing?
What the hell is this guy doing?
That's not how you use that, right? And then, of course, I'd go grab a towel and I'd like put it over the pull-up rig and like hang from the towel and do pull-ups on the towel. And people were like, what is this guy doing, right? And so at that point, I really realized like, I want to be in a gym where grip strength, gymnastics, skill, and those things are kind of part of it, right?
Just like a square peg in a round hole, what you were trying to do.
Exactly. And so, and I remember the big thing when I was looking at CrossFit gyms is I wanted a gym that had a really tall rope climb, because that was one of the obstacles that I failed was the rope climb, and I really wanted to learn rope climbing. Mm-hmm. And so visited a CrossFit box here. I knew a few of the guys that worked out there. They all had good things to say about it. And so I joined up, and in all honesty, like, man, immediately you hear CrossFit people talk about the community. It's like everybody kind of has the stereotype. If you're not in CrossFit, it's like a cult, right? Mm-hmm. But I started to get it, right? Like I started to get it, understand why everybody was so excited about it. And so the more that I was there, the more I realized, man, I really love this. Like, and I started catching myself, encouraging other people and doing that. And they finally just kind of asked me like, hey, have you ever thought about coaching? Not really, but I'd love to, you know? And so I did. Of course, it was right before the pandemic that I decided, hey, I want to coach. And of course, as soon as I wanted to coach, they shut all the classes down. Mm. So I had to wait for the pandemic. The gym was shut down for a while. But the second that I could get into a CFL1 class, man, I was on it. Drove down to Houston and jumped in at Skyline CrossFit on a class and came back. And, man, it's just been a growing passion ever since.
That's really neat, man. Yeah, and so I got a lot of questions. I mean, just off that minute you just talked, I have so many questions based off of that. I mean, as far as like the obstacle course racing, is CrossFit like the suggested way to train for it? Are there you know what I mean? Like it seems like there's just so many different ways to train to prepare for those. Because it's just such a unique combination, any of these races of, cardio, but strength and but endurance. And, for instance, like I'm a triathlete. I mean, I don't know if you can see the bike behind me.
Oh yeah.
But I'm a triathlete, so I excelled at the Spartan race at the running part, because a lot of these people who are really strong, you could tell, are pretty jacked. Like I'm not jacked, but like they were walking, where I'm just like, I'm taking off.
Yep.
But there were a lot of the technical obstacles that, like the rope, for instance, like you said, I did it, but it was literally pure will. There was no there's no skill whatsoever. I didn't even use my legs. I just shimmied up it with my arms. And obviously that's not how you do it. But the monkey bars was another real challenge. The rings I failed on. So what is the suggested type of? I'm going to just ask you all these personal questions. And if anyone's watching, I apologize because I am just so jacked up about the sport. I want to learn as much as I can about it right now. So
no, and any of my people that are watching right now, they're going to tell you I'm an open book, man.
I love it.
We'll get deep personal if you want to. So
let's go, baby.
Ask away. So here's the deal. CrossFit, is it a good workout for OCR? Absolutely. Right. CrossFit is going to be a good workout for really just anything, because again, it's cross-functional fitness. They're training endurance, they're training strength. We're training mobility. We're doing all those things because we want to be able to take these skills and apply them in life in general. Right. And so now I will say though, while I do feel like CrossFit has prepared me to be obstacle immune, to have obstacle immunity is what I like to call it, where basically I don't fail obstacles anymore. Right. In fact, I missed my first spear throw at that stadium race. That's the first one I've missed since my first race in 2018. And I was so mad at myself, but I don't fail monkey bars anymore. I don't fail those things because I've learned the gymnastics movement. I've learned to hang from a bar and do muscle ups and get over a wall and do all these different things that CrossFit teaches you. Right. Yeah. The one thing I will say that is probably a little lacking, and at least for our programming in our box, is we don't do a lot of running, right? We'll do some bike, we'll do some row, we'll do a little bit of running, but you never really see anything in the programming longer than a mile.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so running, when you really start getting into the OCR world, that's a huge part of it. Right. You can go do a sprint or like a stadium race that's, less than 4 miles. And anybody could really go out and kind of do that, right? Maybe not run the whole thing, but they could get through it pretty easily.
Right.
Now you start talking about getting into like the super, which is like the 6+ mile, or the beast, which is 13+, or even the ultra, which is 30+. You're not going to be completing those as easily if you don't have some kind of running background or you've been training running. So there are actual gyms out there, and I'm going to name drop a little bit, but Grit Fitness, for anybody watching, check out Grit Fitness and what they're doing, right? They're based down in West Columbia. They've got a gym in Lake Jackson. They are literally like an obstacle course racing based gym.
Oh,
and so they build up. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible.
Well, so, Neil, too, keep in mind as we talk here, I don't know if, I forgot to grab a pen and paper, but if you got a pen and paper, write these down as you go, because I'm going to put all of the links in the notes below. So anyone listening that's interested in this, because this is, obviously this goes on the internet and it lives there, forever, as long as the internet's around. But I want to put as many reference points in here as well. So I that's what I'm trying to do is like build, I know we're talking for the first time here, but my goal is to be a pillar of like, maybe someone listening today is like, screw OCR, this doesn't interest me, but like the next week, like I've interviewed a guy who's watching right now actually, who got into inline speed skating in his 40s, and he's gone to the national championship, and like just so many people with diverse backgrounds that I hope to pique at least one person's interest per episode, and then I'm achieving what I'm trying to do. So like I want this to be like all-encompassing information. So if I want to get started in OCR, you're the authority right now, and you're going to help us get there. You know what I mean? So that's
cool.
kind of the point.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
for sure, man. Well, yeah. So anyway, so I mentioned Grit Fitness. Again, they're like an obstacle course-based racing gym. Now they have regular workout classes and all that, where you're not going to be going and doing a ton of running, but like they have obstacle course racing simulations on the weekends and things like that. It's a really cool gym. A great family atmosphere. So if you want to check them out on social media, again, Grit Fitness is the name of them. They're based again down in West Columbia and Lake Jackson area. But it really, for me as a CrossFit coach, again, while in the classes, we're not necessarily building the endurance that you would need to do some of the longer OCRs. I make sure to kind of incorporate some running within that, right? Like I make sure to incorporate some more cardio. And in fact, because CrossFit is infinitely scalable and you can kind of replace different things, we have a chart on the wall that says, hey, if it's a bike in the workout today and you want to run, this is kind of the scale or the equivalent, right, of doing that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so instead of a 20-calorie bike, I may pull the air runner out and hit the air runner to work on my running form in that. Or I may mark out, if it's supposed to be a 20-calorie bike and whatever the meters are, I'll go run that in the meters on whatever loop we have set up. And again, it's just all about kind of being intentional about growing that running and then growing really grip strength. And, if you follow Hunter the Sheriff, Hunter McIntyre on Instagram, like his big thing is like bicep swim races, right? Because you're hanging from stuff, you're gripping stuff, you're pulling stuff, sled drags and things like that. You're flipping tires. So if you don't have this, right, you're going to have a hard time.
I mean, I can tell you firsthand, I felt like Popeye when I was done. My forearms felt like they're going to explode. Especially that rope, man. I've never done that before, so that was, intense. Now, like for me, what I do, my background is I played football my whole life, basically. I played semi-pro football and I played professional indoor football in my 20s, and once I got to the end of my 20s, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I wanted to, from the little I know about you so far, me and you sound pretty similar. We're like, you just sound like a million miles an hour all the time, million hobbies, and just, I'm down for anything. When someone's like, and then what I find out is competitive or you can take it somewhere, that's when I'm like, okay, well, now I'm obsessed with this. So that's where, and I'm at the point now where I don't want to like reinvent myself. Like I don't want to, get into like archery or something like that, or just something completely, foreign to everything I've built, athletically or conditioning wise.
Sure.
So recently, over the past year, I've gotten actually not even the year, past couple months, I've gotten really into F45.
I've seen you post a lot about that.
Yeah.
The little on there, right?
Yeah. I love it. And the reason I like it is it's not the same as a CrossFit gym, obviously, but it's similar in the sense that like the focus is functional fitness, you know, and it's high intensity, it's short rest periods, you know, it's you're hammering it out. We did the Murph there the one day, which I know that you guys do as well at CrossFit gyms.
Yeah.
So we, you know, it's a lot of stuff like that. And then my regimen is I'll do F45 and then I'll hit my triathlon training afterwards. So I did the F45 training today, and then I did 9 miles on the treadmill afterwards. So, but you know, that's kind of covering both ends. And that's what intrigues me about the OCR races is, you know, I think there's a lot of crossover for a lot of different kinds of athletes, you know, so you don't necessarily like people, you know, people run 5Ks here and there, but like they're not as thrilling or exciting as, you know, running the stadium at Cowboy Stadium or you know, Philadelphia or wherever they may be, National
Crossing
Stadium.
a finish line in the end zone at Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah. And it's, you know, 5K, no disrespect to 5Ks. I'm doing one on Saturday and I enjoy them, but they're definitely not as exciting as, you know, as that or as involved, you know, it's in the feeling of achievement that you get by doing something like this. And I think it goes back to like what you said earlier about being a member at the CrossFit gym. You said immediately you found out what the community is like. I just think there's so much of that that's missing nowadays in people's individual lives. I think a lot of people get a false sense of community because of social media. And I think, you know, it's like, well, I'm a Democrat, so I'm only going to follow Democrats on Twitter, and I'm a part of a team. So we're going to all attack someone who disagrees with me. And that's not anything. Like, that's not, that's, if you were to stack up that idea or thought process next to a day at your gym, what it's like to be in the same room with people working their asses off to almost the point of complete exhaustion, you know what I mean? And then that feeling of accomplishment that you did it together, or, you know, everybody did a race together or whatever, they just don't even compare. So
well, and one of the things I tell people a lot about CrossFit, right? CrossFit's a place where the person who finishes last gets the loudest cheers.
I like that.
Right?
That's cool. Yeah.
And I mean, it happened at our gym today, right? There's one guy that's finishing the workout, you know, that he just joined not too long ago. And literally, like, everybody's finishing up. And what happens is you just see the community kind of turn towards this person who may be struggling a little bit to finish his workout and just cheering him on, like, come on, man, you got this. Let's go, man. You got to hold on to it, you know? And it's just really cool to watch that, right? Because all of a sudden, you know, we all know it. When you get that cheering, that, you know, everybody's around you and they're cheering for you, man, that's a whole another adrenaline rush. Yeah. And so you just see some people really kind of go beast mode in that moment, right? Even though they may be finishing last, you can see that they're excited to finish.
Yeah, so, well, you're going to dig a little bit deeper. And
absolutely.
I was talking about this. So one of my best friends, he got drafted by the Diamondbacks, you know, back in the day. And he never made it to the majors, but he had a very, you know, cool, you know, minor league career. But he's the one who actually got me into F45 in the first place. And we talk about this all the time because you can go to a gym by yourself and you could do like a 1-to-1. You know, you could give me the workout, or you could do the workout by yourself at a traditional gym. You're going to have to walk around. You're going to have to load all the equipment your own. It's not set up for you. You're by yourself. You know what I mean? There's not the teamwork aspect of it is what really drives you to dig deep and go that extra rep, or, you know, go that extra whatever yards you're doing on, or the extra 5 seconds, whatever it may be, whatever exercise you're doing. And we talk about that a lot, and I really like that. And obviously you got addicted right off the bat. So what's the process like of well, actually, before we get that, why don't you explain to people, because I've never been to a CrossFit gym either. Why don't you explain to people, you know, what a typical workout is like at a CrossFit gym, or like if you were to join a box gym, like what is that like? What's that experience entail?
So obviously every box is going to be a little bit different, but I can kind of walk you through, like, if you were to come to Brenham CrossFit, like what that would look like.
Yeah,
right?
Perfect. Yeah.
So 9 times out of 10, we have somebody that signs up for like 2 free trial classes online or something of that nature, and they schedule a time to come in. So that way, as a coach, like, I know I'm expecting somebody to come in. Our gym manager has already kind of talked to them, gotten some ideas of, you know, they have any kind of previous injuries, or they deconditioned, what kind of physical shape are they in. And again, we do that so that we can understand when they come in, we want to make sure that we don't push them past a point that they're comfortable with, but that also we can push them enough to where they get a good workout in, right? So you come in, you check in, And then at the start of the class, noon class we just coached, we're calling everybody up to the whiteboard. Hey, real quick, let's go over this. Hey, train 60, which is our hour-long class. This is your warm-up. You're going through one round of this, one round of this, one round of this, 10 reps of this. Repeat that for 5 minutes, and at the end of the 5 minutes, we'll go over the workout, right? And so they're coming in, whether it's 5-10-minute warm-up, and they're just kind of warming up. Most of our veterans know kind of what to do, and they'll kind of take a newbie under the wing a little bit and say, hey, when you're doing this, make sure you're doing it this way or that way. Keep your form straight, keep your neutral spine, all those different things. And so as a coach, we're walking around and we're watching, because in those warm-ups, we typically have some of the movements in that are going to be in the workout. And so we're watching to make sure, okay, is there anybody that seems to be struggling? Like if we have squats in the workout, and I see somebody kind of doing the hunched over deal, I'm going to go catch them in the warm-up and kind of coach them, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And if they don't have the mobility, then we're going to coach them on a different movement, or we're going to scale the movement to something that they can do, that they're not losing form and they're kind of losing their posture in that.
So in a broader sense, a CrossFit gym isn't like a big box gym. And when I say box, I mean like LA Fitness or Anytime Fitness. It's not like where like you just go whenever you want, you show up and do whatever you want. These are structured. Right. And is there like, do you have to like somehow, like at F45, for instance, I have to sign up for the classes because there's a finite number of spots. Is that how CrossFit works too?
So a lot of the gyms will, just because they want to understand how many people are coming to the class. Obviously, as one coach, you don't want like 20 plus people coming to a class, and then you can't keep eyes on everyone. Because the last thing you want is to have so many people that you've got somebody in the back, that's completely almost doing a good morning with 300 pounds on their back, and, they're just going to tear their back up, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you keep the class sizes within a range that you can keep eyes on everyone, correct form as you need to. But at the same time, our gym, we typically don't have more than 20 coming to a class, right? Okay. Just because with our membership and everything, our class sizes can range anywhere from like 3 to 4 all the way up to maybe 9 or 10, on a big size. And so we don't do a whole pre-sign up. It's just kind of a show up. Now, if we got bigger, then yeah, we're going to implement it. We have that capability. But a lot of gyms, yes, you'll sign up, you'll say, hey, I'm coming to this class, and you show up. The workout's already written. It's all on a whiteboard, what your warm-up's going to be, what your workout's going to be, if there's a strength portion, if there's accessory work, it's all written up there so you can see exactly what to expect over the next hour. And then the coach is going to walk you through every movement. They're going to demo every movement. I'm going to show you. I'm not just going to say, hey, go grab a bar and do some back squats. I'm going to have a PVC pipe or a bar, and I'm going to walk over and I'm going to say, hey, we have back squats. Here's how we're going to do. You're going to put the back rack to the bar. You're going to make sure to keep that neutral spine, right? We're dipping with the hips, keeping the chest tall. Show me your shirt. Knees are tracking over toe. We're going to go through every point of performance to make sure that everybody understands exactly what we're doing and how they're supposed to be doing it. Because again, go ahead.
I was going to ask, do the workouts change daily or weekly or
daily? Yeah.
Daily?
So every day we have 3 different workouts. We have our Train 60, our Train 30, and our Uplift class at our box, right? So our Uplift class is like a women's-based class, which, by the way, I've coached one of those before. If you think, oh, a women's class, I bet it's easy. No, like those ladies get it, man. Like I've coached one of those classes and been tired from demoing. So, and then we have our Train 30 class, which is a 30-minute deal. We do that like at 6 a.m. and at noon, and then in the evening at 5:30. And that's if you have kind of smaller time constraints, or if you're really kind of new to fitness, you're hardly ever going to pick up a barbell in Train 30, right? We're keeping the workouts semi-easy. But at the same time, if you want to make it harder, we'll tell you, hey, here, you can scale this movement up to, handstand push-ups if you don't want to do, overhead presses or whatever. And so, again, 30 minutes, shorter workout. Our Train 60 is where you're going to start seeing the harder workouts and a strength portion programmed in. So after the workout, you're going to be grabbing a barbell. We may be doing snatches. We may be doing back squats. We may be doing deadlifts or clean and jerks or something of that nature. Again, building that strength in those compound movements.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. So now let's kind of transition. So I think you did a great job of explaining, what that is. So I think CrossFit gets a bad rap too, by the way. I mean, just a side note, you get so many people that like make fun of it and stuff, but I mean, they are literally some of the craziest in shape athletes like on the planet. When you watch those CrossFit games, they look like they're like made of plastic. They look like they're fake.
Yeah. I mean, there's some solid athletes, and here's the beauty of it, right? Because a lot of people don't understand, like, well, the the bro lifter, he's going to say, well, I'm not going to do all that cardio stuff because I'm going to lose my gains, right?
Yeah.
The marathon runner is going to say, well, I don't need to build all that muscle because that's more for me to carry around. And we always kind of talk about, well, let's say you grabbed, one expert in the field of whatever it is that we're talking about in CrossFit. So we're talking about strength. So you grab a bodybuilder, right? Or, a power lifter, right? And you say, all right, power lifter, we do some gymnastic stuff. Let's grab the best gymnastics person. Let's grab a marathon runner or a runner and put them in there with a CrossFitter. And we're going to have a competition between these 4 people, right? The CrossFitter is probably not going to win either 3 competition. They're not going to win the power lift. They're not going to win the gymnastics, and they're not going to win the run, right? What they are going to do is they're going to come in second in every single one of them, right? But the power lifter is only going to come in first once. He needs to come in third the other 2 times.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison. I like that. Yeah.
Right? So let's say we're on a point-based system, and there's 3 points for first, 2 points for second, and 1 point for third. Who wins?
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at that. I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the beauty of it. And, and again, for myself, like, I'm not training to compete in the CrossFit games or anything of that nature. Like, I know I don't have the genetics for it, man. Those people are monsters. They're awesome, right?
It's just like any other sport, right? Like, I'm not going to go to the NFL. I'm 5'7", like it's...
Yeah. So, but again, it's a lot of fun. The community is great. It is a great workout. And it is. It's more than just workout. We're coaching on nutrition and all those things. So that's kind of, everything in a nutshell. So.
No, I think you did a great job of explaining that. I think that puts it all into perspective. So now my next question is, what's the process of becoming a coach? What was that like for you? Like, what are the steps that you have to take to get there?
So it is a lot shorter process than most, like, personal training certificates and all those different things. CrossFit has a very in-depth, intensive weekend class that you go through. And so you've got 2 days, 8 hours each day, where you have 4 like highly trained, highly certified coaches that are coming through and walking you through movements. And man, they pick you apart. Like, if you're kind of one of those people that doesn't like flaws pointed out in you, it's going to be really hard to go through one of these classes, because what they're going to do is they're going to sit there and they're going to make sure that you understand, like, hey, if you're doing squat snatches and it's wrong, they don't want you to leave there and go teach,
right.
20 other people how to do it wrong.
Perpetuate it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so they want to make sure that when you walk out of that class, that you know exactly how to coach the movement, how to coach someone else on the movement, because again, not every person receives the same thing, in the same way, right? Mm-hmm. That's why you'll hear different CrossFit coaches talk about, like, if your chest is dipping in a squat, like proud chest, okay, so they're getting the chest back up. Somebody may not understand that. And so show me your shirt. You've got an eagle on your shirt. And so if I'm coaching you, I'm going to tell you, hey, Brian, like, if I see you dipping, I want to make sure to see that eagle, right? So if I tell you, show me your shirt, you better make sure I can see that eagle.
Thanks for bringing that up, by the way. I wore this because the 4th of July is right around the corner.
Yeah, awesome, man. Let freedom ring.
That's right, baby.
So, but again, it is, and at the end, they take you through a written exam where, there's some tricky questions in there. They say there's no trick questions. There were some that I read like once or twice just to make sure, right? And they make sure, again, that you walk out with the knowledge, and they make sure that throughout the class that you can demonstrate and coach someone else. And they'll even watch you. They'll say, okay, you're going to coach this person on this movement. Go.
Oh, interesting. They got to know that you can do it, right? It's yeah. Very cool. So yeah, I'm going for my NASM personal trainer certification right now. Yeah, I just want to it's gotten to the point in my life where I'm just realizing, like, I don't want to work for other people. Like, I don't want to work it's just rewarding to help people get in better shape than what they're at, to help them 100%. Progress. Yeah. And, I like my job that I have now. I'm not going to put it on blast, but it's just, you're just kind of a cog in the machine sometimes, sure. And when you do rewarding work, that just kind of bleeds over into all different aspects of your life as well, I think, it's
absolutely. Well, and Zig Ziglar said it best, right? He said, you can get everything you want in life if you'll just help enough people get what they want, right? When you really think about that, you're like,
that's pretty deep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and again, kind of to tie in, whether it's my digital marketing, whether it's fitness, whatever it is, I try to live my life in a way that I'm helping someone achieve a goal of their own, right? Because I know, I may not get paid for it, right? I may not, monetarily get anything from it. But I'll tell you right now, like, if I spend an extra 10 minutes in the gym after the class helping someone learn a kipping pull-up or a muscle-up, or I see them hit a PR because we kept the gym open a little longer. I didn't necessarily get paid for that extra time, but man, like I walk out of there with an endorphin high because I just got to see, John Smith do, the most weight he's ever lifted on a bar.
Yeah. Well, right? You're part of that journey, that story. You helped kind of, in the age of, the internet and everything, it's just so easy to spread negativity and nonsense. And to be on the other side of that, to help spread positivity and help people push themselves. Because it's just the ultimate irony to me to think that in the age that we can just go on, we know pretty much, not everything, but I mean, we know so much about health and nutrition and fitness, yet ironically, we have the most, overweight and unhealthy people, we've ever had. So what the hell, so like when you can help kind of move the needle, just one person, it's a big deal. That's really rewarding and, personally rewarding, I think.
Absolutely, man.
So what pays the bills at your house? Is it like a combination of the both? Or is the marketing the full time and the CrossFit's the side gig, or vice versa, or kind of here and there?
It is marketing that pays the bills, right? And when I say pays the bills, I mean like we're kind of a startup. We just started in January 2020. So if anybody needs marketing help, hit me up.
We're gonna put the link in the show notes. So there you go.
There we go. We go. Making the note right now. But yeah, so marketing pays the bills. But again, I'm paid on the side to coach, so that kind of helps keep things above water. That's just. But again, I don't really do it for the pay. In fact, it was really interesting. I've been coaching for over a year, and I was talking to my dad about it recently. He's like, "So what do they pay y'all to coach a class?" And I was like, I actually don't know. I just know they pay us something, right?
Yeah.
Because again, there are coaches out there, they do it for the money, right? They do it as a side gig, to help pay the bills and that. So I'm not knocking that by any stretch of the imagination, but so many coaches, we don't do it for the pay, right? Like we do it because we love doing it. We love seeing people achieve. We love seeing people come in, 50, 60 pounds overweight. And then within 6 months, they're losing weight, they're down a few pant sizes, or they're able to run with their kids.
Right. It's like coaching Little League. You don't do it, you do it because you just enjoy it. You love seeing the kids succeed. And it's just kind of like an adult version of that a little bit. Exactly.
And there was there's an older gentleman that joined our gym before COVID and all that. And I remember like when he first came in and he actually saw somebody doing a box jump, 20-inch box jump, right? And as I'm talking to him and we're getting to know each other, he's like, "Man, I'm never going to be able to do that." And I said, "Not yet, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, right. No way." And sure enough, like 6-7 months later, I walk in because I'm going to hit the 6 a.m. class. He's at the 5 a.m. class, and they're in the middle of their workout. And guess what he's doing? 20-inch box jumps.
That's great.
And so he gets done with the workout. I'm like, "What happened to never?" He said, "Man, can you take my cell phone and do a video real quick?" I said, "Heck yeah, man. I'd love to," right? Because again, like people come in and they're like, I can't do that.
Yeah, see, that's what I love. I mean, a lot of like internally what drives me is where I'm from in Buffalo. I have so many friends and people I know back home that just fell into this trap. Not even a trap, just like it just kind of like they lulled themselves to the point where they're just like, well, I'm 25, so this is it. This is the best I'll ever be. Yeah. And, whether it be physically, career-wise, they're like, just kind of shut it down. Yeah. And, as I get older, I start to look at people and I see that's just so common for you immediately, because it's safe. It's safe to say things like, I'll never be able to do that, because it is. You feel vulnerable putting yourself out there. Like imagine if he said that. So, think of the inverse. Think if he walked in there and was like, I can do that. It'll be easy. Give me a week. And then he failed. Well, then it's like incredibly discouraging, and he's not gonna come anymore. And it's just kind of like a negative downward trend. But I just love the idea of one of my. What I'm kind of obsessed with is the idea of kind of like redefining what it is to get older. Because, I mean, I just the other day I was looking at a picture of my dad, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but the picture was of him when he was my age. And it looks like he's like 100. I was like, it's just the idea of like, even back in the day when you would think of someone who was, 50 years old, you might as well have been dead. That's an old man, but now that I'm 35 next month, I'm like, in 15 years, shit, I'm going to be grinding. Like, I'm going to be, and at all these triathlons I do, I mean, just at the one on Saturday, I was talking to a guy who he won. They have Masters, which is 40 and above, and then they have Grand Masters, which is 60 and above. And he won Grand Masters. He was 61 years old, and he beat me by a minute. And I came in 14th place overall. It's not like I was just, out there walking around. So there's people like that out there now. And if you think about the way the world is going and the knowledge that we're acquiring about health and fitness. I mean, you take, let's use me as a reference point, 60 years, or when I'm 60 years old, right? So that's, 25 years from now. 25 years ago, in the mid-90s, think about how far we've come since then. I'm hitting the microphone here. But think about how far we've come since then. Think about how far ahead we'll be in 25 years, And I love that idea of pushing the boundaries of what you think is possible, not only personally, but kind of showcasing that to give inspiration to others to do that.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
I mean,
honestly,
go ahead. All you.
I was going to say that's a great segue to kind of talk a little bit about the obstacle course racing, if you like.
Yeah, I want to get into that. I definitely want to get into that. Let's go. Yeah,
for sure. So I mentioned, that I ran an obstacle course race in 2018. First one, Spartan. In fact, that's I saw it in my reflection there. That's the sticker that I got from that 2018 race, man.
That's cool.
I was so excited. And what happened, I had a buddy of mine, I was signed up to do like a little fundraiser one down in Houston. It was going to be like 2 miles, and it was put on by a small organization. It probably wasn't going to be much. And I started talking to a buddy at the gym and telling him I was doing this. He said, "Man, don't do that one. Come do the Spartan race with me." I was like, "Okay, I'll do Spartan race with you." And it was like 2 weeks out, so of course it was like massively expensive to sign up. But birthday was coming up, so my wife was like, "Hey, if that's what you want for your birthday, let's do it." Right? So I signed up, and of course the day before, the guy texts me, and he says, "Hey, really sorry, I got called in on a shift tomorrow. I'm not going to make it."
Oh no!
And the hard part about that is, I actually wanted to run a Tough Mudder back in 2007, right? But I didn't, because I didn't have anybody to go with me.
Wow! Right? Wow!
And so I just spent like $150 on this ticket, and it was my birthday present. And I'm like, I don't want to waste that.
Right.
So I go out there, and I'm just kind of like walking around like, okay, I walk over to the start line. My wave's starting in about 10, 15 minutes. And there's like these 3 people that are over there stretching, and they're just kind of like doing their thing. And so I'm like, I better talk to somebody. So I start talking to these guys, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is his first one too. Like, we're going to do it together. Why don't you join us? Just run with us." I'm like, "All right, cool." And so we run this whole thing together. Man, it was such a blast. It took us, about 2.5 hours because we were walking some of it, but at the same time, like, man, I drove away from there just excited, just hooked. And I remember driving home and telling my wife, I'm like, "Hey, I know this was a birthday gift, but they gave me a 10% off coupon. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up for a super and a beast, because I learned about this thing called a trifecta and I want to do one." And so she's like, "Okay, well, when's the super?" I said, "It's in like 2 months, right?" She goes, "But the super is like more than 6 miles. You've never ran more than 2. I was like, "Well, guess I got to start training." And that's really when I started getting into the running. And in 2018, I finished my first trifecta. So I ran, the Houston Sprint, the Austin Super, and the Dallas Beast, right?
That's awesome.
And again, like, because I'm one of those people that like, what's next? Like, what's the next challenge?
Yeah.
Right? So I finished the Beast, but I see all these people running around with like these little purple pennies on, right? And I'm like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, those guys are running the Ultra. It's basically 2 laps of the Beast plus a little loop in there." I'm like, "I want to do that."
I'm in. Yeah.
So of course I immediately come home, and I told my wife, and I'm like limping in the house because my joints are all locked up from running further than I ever have. And I'm like, "Hey, I want to sign up for the one that's like 2 laps next year." She's like, "You were going to kill yourself," right? And so again, that next year in 2019, like I ran 2 supers, the Austin San Antonio ones, and then I ran the Dallas Ultra. So I didn't get a trifecta that year, which is fine. But that Ultra, I'll tell you this, I cried on the course. I had never, and this is, stupid me for not training enough, I'd never run more than like 10 miles training for it. And I was signing up to go run 30 miles up and down like the one biggest hill in Glen Rose. And I remember at about mile 24, my knees locked. I could barely walk. I could barely run. And I remember at about mile 26, this medic little UTV comes driving by, and I had to literally bite my tongue to not stop them and say, "Can I get a ride?" Like I was ready to throw in the towel.
And it goes back to what you were talking about earlier. It's like being in that environment and digging deeper than you've never done before. And I'm sure when you finished, it was like,
yeah,
you would have regretted that the rest of your life probably if
exactly.
Yeah.
And here's the beauty of it, right? When for anybody who's ever been on the fence about running an ultra, there's something magical about running an ultra. When you put that purple penny on and you go out on the course, it's just you and your other ultra runners at first. And of course you all start getting spread out because everybody's got a little bit of a different pace, right? But by the time you start coming around on that second lap, there's a bunch of people that are running the beast on that lap. And what happens is you start coming up on a narrow part of trail and there's a big group of beast runners in front of you. The second somebody notices you, they'll call out ultra runner. And all of a sudden, like the sea just parts.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Everybody's like, "Let's go, man. Let's go. You got this. You got this." You want to talk about like the push that you need to really finish that second lap and keep going?
Yeah.
Man, that's it right there. Because again, that OCR community is so much like the CrossFit community.
Yeah.
I've got friends that I've never met face to face, but they've invited me to their house the next time I'm around. Like we've jumped on Zoom calls together just to visit about, hey, how was the race and all that. But I've never met them in person, right? Because again, like it's just this connection of like we went through something tough together.
Yeah.
We survived something. We did this, right? That's the cool part about it.
Well, there's not a lot of people that I think have done them either, because when I started talking about it and shared it online, and people are like, "Oh, I've heard of that before," or I've seen someone do it, but there really weren't a lot of people who were like, "Oh, I did one back in blah," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that too. Is it's kind of like maybe not like a niche sport, but I don't think there's a lot of people that go all in with it. I think there's a lot of people that may do like a one and done kind of thing. And when you're doing the trifectas and you start to see a lot of the same people at the races, I mean, that's how it is. I know with triathlon, like I see the same people at the races all the time. Like I met a guy at the race last weekend that he's going to be at the national championship with me in August. And, it's you see these same people. There's a lot of crossover. So where does Stadion fit in all of this? So there's the sprint,
So a Stadion is considered a sprint, right?
Okay, gotcha.
So the medal's yellow just because it's a little bit different. I think they, and forgive me, I'm not like so deep into the Spartan world that I know all of their like different race series and all that. I know like they have a whole level of just like competitive ultra elite athletes that you can follow all the rankings and everything. There's some really just solid people in that.
Well, at the Stadion that we did, I was like you. Like I signed up 2 weeks before just for the hell of it, because I was like, this is why I signed up for it. I had gotten a free month at F45, and it's not a cheap, CrossFit gyms and gyms like that, they're not cheap. So I was like, I'm going to go 6 days a week, train my ass off, and then that Spartan race was at the end of my 30-day trial. So I'm like, this is perfect. I'm just kind of like, and I'm a sprint triathlete, so, and I'm a 5K-er, so I was conditioned for that side of it. And then I'm like, I like to think of myself as an athlete, so I can, I think I can do all these obstacles and stuff. So I signed up for it, and I'm walking around and I have no idea what the hell's going on. I don't even know I don't even know where to register. And we're sitting in the parking lot, and my fiance is like, you're supposed to sign me up as a spectator before this. And I'm like, yeah. But I'm standing in line at the age group race, because there's the elite, the age group, and then the open.
Right.
And I'm a competitor, man. Like, even if I come in last place, I know that I placed. You know what I mean? I don't just like doing stuff for the sake of doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanna go really hard. So I'm in line in the age group thing. I think it was like 840 or 830 or something like that. And I do follow a lot of the obstacle course race guys on Instagram because I do think what they do is really cool. And I have been thinking about getting into it for a long time. And all of a sudden, Robert Killian just jumps in. He just jumped in my race. And for those of you who don't know who Robert Killian is, he's like the elite of the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's like kind of like a legend, right, of the sport.
Yeah.
And he won the elite race in the morning. Like, he won the 7:30 race and then just did it again and won that.
He got fourth.
Oh, he got fourth?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
at least that's my understanding. I had to go back and check, but so and you know, I'm not
maybe
gonna
that's
speak
why I
about
did
Robert
it again.
Killian, right? Like, great guy. Like, I love following him. The dude is, I mean, just awesome, right? But my understanding, because there's a lot of people online talking about this right now, like, he got fourth, is my understanding, in the race, and so he ran back up and registered for the age group to jump in there.
Yeah, he just jumped in front of me, and I was like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, of course, all the age group guys were like, what, am I a joke to you? Like, you know, because he beasted it, man. Like, yeah. But again, the guy's solid. I'm not going to speak ill of him because I can't say that I wouldn't have done the same thing, you know. So
well, he's a competitor, right?
The guy's awesome. The guy's an incredible athlete. So
that was wild. But yeah, I find it so fascinating that people like make careers out of it. Obviously, I don't plan on doing that, but if you can do that, like, I love the age group stuff because that's what I do with triathlon. You know, I've been to the World Championships a couple times, and I just qualified for the World Championships in Bermuda in October.
Nice.
So, like, I've taken that sport pretty much as far as I can take it, because the next step would be professional. I'll never be a professional.
Sure.
But I'm kind of like trying to see how far I can take OCR now. So, do you know if, like, because the Spartan races it's kind of far and few between, you know, like, you got to really travel if you want to, like, follow the
you got to
circuit.
know when they're coming up, where they're going to be, all that stuff.
Yeah, because, like, in Dallas, there's really not any coming up until they're coming back here in October. So, 3-4 months from now.
Well, and again, there's a whole deal around that because they lost the Glen Rose venue. And so right now, like, everybody's kind of in limbo, waiting to hear, where is the venue going to be?
Wait, really? I didn't
find
know that.
a venue. Yeah.
Oh.
And so, you know, I think it's July 2nd. They sent an email, not July 2nd. They sent an email out in the past saying, hey, we're in talks. We think we have a venue finalized. We'll give you something in 30 days. Well, like, July 2nd is like the 30-day mark, right? And so everybody's kind of watching their email real closely. They've got those Spartan email notifications turned on because we're all kind of, you know, eager to make our plans, because typically people book hotels and all that, you know, several months out.
Yeah.
In fact, for Stadium, I mean, we booked our hotel like 3 or 4 months out, you know, because we were going with my family. My wife and my kids came with. That was like the one A-seed Spartan race that we were going to be going to. And so I figured it'd be cool to bring them along, which they loved it. They were like ground floor watching me come out, you know, from the stadium and hit the last few obstacles.
It was a cool experience, man. It was really
cool. Totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they are going to be back in October. If they can find a venue. Now there is I believe a Savage race, a Bone Frog, and a Tough Mudder are all three coming up in the Dallas area at the end of the year, which, if you don't mind mentioning, I'm a Tough Mudder ambassador. So if anybody's never run a Tough Mudder before and they need a code to get some money off of a ticket for 2021, I'll be sure to drop y'all my link and my.
Can you make the code public, or do they have to DM you for it?
Oh, no. It's public. I don't know if I still have it in my Instagram profile. I think I was trying to brag on myself a little too much and I couldn't fit it in there.
We'll put it in the show notes. So because I'm probably actually going to take care of that or take advantage of that. The only thing is, like, because I saw. So there's another one too. Maybe there's a terrain race. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yeah.
So there was a free sign up for that, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. You know, it's kind of like the same concept, but it's the same day as the Spartan race that's coming down here as well again. Yeah. October 23rd, I think it is.
So yeah, and I've never done a terrain race, so I can't speak towards that. But if you had a choice, my personal preference, I would say run the Spartan. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Spartan seems to be the standard in the industry.
Yeah, you know. and I'm gonna. selfishly, I'm going to tell you, run Sunday at the Beast and get an early wave because I could totally use somebody to run with Sunday.
Okay.
So I'm running the Ultra on Saturday, 30 plus miles. And then I'm coming back for round 2 with the Beast on Sunday.
Holy cow.
So, and you look like you could probably carry me about halfway. So,
I don't know. I'm little, man. I'm little. I'll tell you what, though. Maybe, I'm not going to lie. Maybe I think about doing that, too, the gauntlet like that. There's still plenty of time to train for that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking to run. So one of my goals is I'm trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon in December at the Dallas Marathon. So I'm going to be pretty well into marathon training at that point too. So I'll have the cardio, and man, and I'll be like months into F45 at that point too. So I really push myself at that place too. I go to the 6 a.m. class every day and just go berserk. So maybe I'll think about doing the doubleheader like that with you.
Come on, man, let's do it.
Yeah, I think we might be onto something here. That's pretty cool. That's the one you're talking about. We don't have a venue yet, but they're figuring that out. Okay.
They're still trying to figure out the venue. Again, we should hear something pretty soon from Spartan. They're typically pretty good about putting the word out there as soon as they know something that's solid. So
gotcha.
And then again too, like Tough Mudder is going to be up in the same area 2 weeks prior to that. So I'm not running the classic or the 5K. I'm actually participating in the Infinite Hero Challenge, which is raising money for veteran suicide and veteran PTSD. So it's a 10-hour deal. They're putting us in teams of 22, and we'll be going for 10 hours on and off the course, just completing all of these challenges, whatever they throw at us.
Is the 22 for the suicides a day? Is that what
So that is the number of average veteran lives lost to suicide each day.
So we got Onyx on the show right now, and love them. He's a great guy. He's been an inspiration for me actually to get my personal trainer certification because he's doing that too. But he made a funny comment earlier about CrossFit because he's the powerlifting kind of guy. But then as soon as you mentioned that, because he's a military guy too, he goes, well, now I love him. So you want him back.
Well, hey, Onyx, I'm glad to be your friend, brother. We can go toe-to-toe on the CrossFit. You probably got me on the weights every day. That's not my strength. But
he's a beast.
Let's do some muscle ups and maybe I'll have a chance.
So I was going to ask you about the first of all, that sounds incredible. That sounds and you mentioned how long? 10 hours, you said?
10 hours.
Wow.
So, which doesn't scare me a whole lot. So when I did the Ultra 2 weeks prior to that, I did America's Toughest Mudder, which was a 12-hour 5-mile loop. Ended up completing 5 loops in that, which they found out after the fact that it was actually like a 5.5-mile loop. So technically it was 27 miles.
Oh, my God.
So
when you and so this was always like, and as an ambassador, I'm happy that I have you on the show here because the reason I never did a Tough Mudder before was because exactly like what I talked about earlier. Like I'm a competitor. I like to compete. I don't just like to do things for the sake of doing them. So with Tough Mudders, from my understanding in the beginning, it was just kind of like you do it. You go out. It's like I know it's obviously a lot harder than like a foam run, but that's what I had in my mind. It's just like you go out, you do it, you take pictures, you have fun. There's no rush, and that's cool. But like I want to compete. So with Tough Mudders, there is
a tougher wave. So they call it Tougher Mudder, and it's the first wave out. It's a competitive. Now the one difference is Tough Mudder took away prize money a few years ago. And so, you can't really professionally go run Tough Mudder because there's no prize money at the end of it, right? But anybody who runs the Tougher Mudder receives the medal. So if you're a medal addict, right, you're going to get the medal by running the tougher wave and the headband. If you just run an open wave, you just get the headband, which is cool and all, but I'm a medal addict. Like I love that stuff clanging and banging on the wall, right?
Mine's not up yet. I'm still setting up the studio here, but it'll be
for sure, man, for sure. But yeah, so Tough Mudder, again, it's a little more community oriented. I've got a brother-in-law and some of his friends that the last few that I've run, I've gone and run with them. And it's just a blast, right? Because again, you're encouraging people, you're helping people up the Celsius wall. And then you're doing things that are challenging others. They're like, oh my gosh, like I just saw this guy do this. I want to try that now.
Yeah.
Right. And you're helping push people out of their comfort zone. The one thing that drives people away from Tough Mudder, because they get really scared about the whole electroshock therapy, right? I'm sure you've seen
it,
at the end.
Yep.
You run through everybody's falling down. If you've ever put a TENS unit on, if you know what I'm talking about, like you put the little electrodes. So you see people, they'll put like the little electrodes and it's like a muscle stimulator, right? And they'll turn it on and it kind of makes the muscle jump a little bit. It's kind of a stimulation therapy. Yeah. So it's basically the same thing. You just don't know what muscle is going to get hit, right? And so I remember Tough Mudder Houston a while back, or maybe it was College Station, coming up to it, and I told my buddies, I was like, I want to walk through it. They're like, dude, you're nuts. I was like, watch, right? And so there's a video of me like walking through, and I'm just hitting the wires out of the way with my arms, and you can see how my arms like jump. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of a pop, but it's about like touching a hot wire, right?
Yeah.
So I know you're in Texas. You've only been here something like 3 years or so.
Yep.
But like us farm boys, like we know, like a hot wire, it's gonna pop, it's gonna hurt, but not.
It's not gonna kill you. Yeah.
No. Unless, don't grab the wires as you're walking through or anything like that. But it's something that everybody can do. Obviously, people have different medical conditions, so we're gonna encourage them, skip it. Like you don't have to go through it. Nobody's gonna yell at you, call you a pansy or anything like that.
Right.
But again, it's just something that challenges your mind a little bit, like to be able to approach that, and you can hear the oh my gosh, right?
Well, that's what I like about this kind of stuff too, because it's not only physically demanding, but it's mentally demanding too.
Yeah.
You're pushing through a lot of these limits that you don't really experience with other stuff too. Yeah. And also, I just wanted to mention, Onyx had mentioned, he's starting his NPO soon. It's called We Lift 22. They lift veterans up through fitness to bring the veteran suicide rate down. So,
heck yeah. So on the digital marketing side, I represent a veterans homeless shelter also down in West Columbia. So he definitely needs to hit me up, send me his information. I'd love to just get them connected. Because again, like we're all on the same mission. I don't have a military background or anything like that, but I have friends who have, and I've had friends who I've seen struggle with that. And so I always, anything we can do to help. Right, these people have laid down so much for us. Time, injury, all that. So.
Every time I meet a veteran, I just say, I thank God that these kinds of people exist, because I am not cut out for it, and it's essential that we have these determined, strong-willed individuals that represent our country. So especially coming up on the 4th of July, it's just want to say thank you to any veterans out there, because I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart.
For sure.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Now, I lost my train of thought. What are we talking about?
That's all right. So we were kind of talking a little bit about Tough Mudder and things like that.
Oh, Tough Mudder, yeah. So I'll have to look that up. Do you know if there's any ones that are coming up in this area?
So Dallas. And if you'll give me 2 seconds, I can tell you that date. I think it's like November 6th.
While you're looking that up, I was going to ask you, what you keep saying Columbia? I don't know where that is.
So West Columbia is it's kind of down towards Lake Jackson. It's on the coast, a little south of Houston and that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So West Columbia is a really small town, right? And but what's crazy is, I guarantee if I were to pull up like a picture of one of the Grit Fitness athletes, like you probably, I saw a bunch of people wearing that jersey, right? Those people show up in force,
gotcha,
right? At all these races and events. Again, they've got people who are almost always on the podium. In fact, Chris Ruglaski, who's like one of the top OCR runners right now, I mean, just killing it in every aspect. She's Grit Fitness coach and works down there and coaches people. And so just awesome people down there.
It's just a small town of freak athletes that just crush it.
Basically, yeah. But no, I mean, and the cool thing is too about OCR, and it's going to be the same thing about Ninja if we get a chance to talk about that today.
I definitely want to talk about that. We can talk about that next.
Yeah. But like, it's the type of deal where, man, I could be battling it out on the course with you. And when we get done, right, like I'm congratulating you on your win, and you're congratulating me on my win and finish and all that. Like these people, in fact, like typically Grit Fitness people, like they'll be battling for first or second or third, right? And they're just going head to head. But at the end of it, like, man, they're sitting by each other talking about the race and just recap. It's like, oh man, that was cool when you did this, or when you pulled whatever on this obstacle and got ahead of me or whatever.
Yeah.
the obstacle world, yes, it's competitive, but it's not competitive in a sense that it's like, if you beat me, it's like, we'll see you next time.
Like you've
Anything
enemies.
like
Yeah.
that.
There's, you're not, yeah.
You know, so that's the really cool thing about it.
That is really cool, and I like the idea. I think what attracts me to it too is there's so like I got addicted to running because the company I worked for back in Buffalo, there's a thing called the Corporate Challenge. They go to major cities around the world. We're talking like Tokyo, London, Paris.
Ooh,
you know,
that sounds cool.
And for some reason, Buffalo was on that list. So it's basically all the big companies and corporations of Buffalo, race each other. And I'd never done a race before. I'd never even thought about it. And I did the first one, and then it's like that slippery slope of like, well, I wonder if I trained more, how much faster I could get, you know? And in running, there's really just one X factor. I mean, you're literally just running. But in OCR stuff, there's just so many different things. Like, how much faster can I get on the monkey bars? Or how much faster, or how much better can I get on the spear throw? I had never touched a spear before my first spear throw. So I literally just like threw it like a baseball. It was terrible, you know, but.
And you'll see a lot of people do that. Like they kind of like tilt it back and like arch it out, and it just goes like, you know. And so key is, man, and here's a tip for everybody who wants to hit that spear throw. Level it out, straight in. Right? Just be right there with it. Like you're throwing darts. It's just a really big dart, right? So you don't want to try and arch it. Some people do that. You can get it like that, but man, except for Stadium, right? The AT&T Stadium race, I've typically, man, you just straightforward drill it in and you're good to go.
Yeah, because I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I missed that one and I missed the rings. Those are the two that I messed up. And
those rings were abnormally difficult. I normally don't have trouble with rings. I still got through it, but it was a little tough.
They were crazy slippery, and I didn't realize, like, I should have watched or, like, at least watched videos, but I didn't know, like, the two-hand thing, like, grab it in two hands. I was just trying to go like this, like one-on-one. I made it through, like, 4 or 5 and then fell. But and then just started doing burpees right there, and the lady's like, what are you doing? Go to the side.
Wait till you see somebody do the chicken wing thing, right? So they get up there, and what they'll do, because their grip strength may be toast, they'll hook an arm through the ring and swing and grab, and then hook the arm through, and then pull this arm out of the ring and swing, because you're not using your hands.
Damn,
right?
That seems even harder though. I don't know.
Oh, it takes forever, right? But it's a lot easier to stay up on that ring, hooking it into the elbow pit than trying to hold on to it. So
at that point, I'd rather just do the burpees.
Yeah, exactly, right? So. So that Tough Mudder, it is going to be November 6th. So at least that's when the Infinite Hero Challenge, and it's going to be at the same venue, at the same course. So again, you check it out, man. Tough Mudder is a great venue, great course. You're going to get a lot more muddier than you do at a Spartan race. So the stadium that you did, obviously there's no mud. Right, you're not going to sit there and tear up Cowboy Stadium. But, you know, you go to a Tough Mudder, you're going to get a little muddy. You go to a Spartan race, you're going to get a little muddy. Tough Mudder, they're going to make sure you leave there caked. Right? Like that's what they do. But that's part of the fun of it.
Right. Yeah, I'm a pretty boy. That's why I just start with the stadium first. In triathlon, we don't get muddy, you know. So so let's talk about the Ninja Warrior stuff, man. So I had a guest on. Her name is Stephanie. She just competed in the Worlds in New Jersey over the weekend, and she was really interesting because. That's what I'm talking about. There's just so many crossover and in the world of fitness, and she had gotten a free trial, I think, at like a bar gym or something like that.
Okay.
And it was just kind of like one thing led to another. She liked the group fitness classes, and then she joined it, and then got into the CrossFit stuff, and then it was just like Ninja Warrior. Now she's all in at Ninja Warrior, obviously. So I was watching her videos, and it was really cool to see her do that. So I'm interested to hear, your perspective now as kind of the focus as a CrossFit guy. Where does Ninja? How do you train for that, or have you done or do you do competitions, and where do you find the time for that?
I haven't got into the competition realm yet, so that's something that again,
I heard the
It's a time thing, right? Yeah. And so in the order of things, it's kind of like CrossFit is like every week, right? The OCR is once every other month or whenever I can get to a race. The Ninja thing is just kind of here and there, right? I did submit my tape for, I believe it was season 12, which I have friends who have been on the show, and all of them said, dude, the tape is fire, man. Like, it's good. And so I had high hopes. And then, of course, right before they said they were going to start doing callbacks, in fact, I think they started doing callbacks for some of the regions, pandemic. And so they had to shut down production and all of that. So I like to think that, I would have gotten a call, right? If anybody from NBC is watching right now, I'll resubmit next season.
They obviously are, because this is the biggest podcast on the internet. So,
hey, speak it, right? And I didn't submit my tape for season 13, and simply because I've got some shoulder issues going on right now. I've got a slightly torn labrum, a little bit of arthritis, and 2 cysts all on my left shoulder.
Wow. Okie dokie.
So I'm working. Yeah. So I'm working through some different physical therapy stuff to kind of really get that healed up. And the last thing that I wanted to do was submit an audition tape, get accepted, and then go out there and just like completely rip my labrum, on the show, and then basically not be ever able to compete again.
Right.
And so kind of held off for a year. I'm looking forward to getting back into it, but I do, I keep in touch with a guy named Jerry Greer that runs Overcoming Obstacles Ministry. So I worked as a youth pastor for a while, so I got to meet him. And what he does is he travels around kind of giving stories of inspiration, inspiring people to help overcome obstacles. And he does it by taking like basically a portable Ninja Warrior course with a full-size warped wall and everything. And he goes around to churches, schools, and all these different places, sets it up, lets kids play on it. He's got a full salmon ladder and everything.
That's cool.
So if there's any schools that are looking for an awesome ninja guy to come out and talk and let their kids play on a course, he was the guy that I first kind of met, because I went to like a youth pastor conference. And I remember we're like walking around, and we're with a few other youth pastors and our wives, and we kind of round the corner at this expo, and there's about 20 booths lined up. And I look down and I see this massive warp wall. I was a fan of Ninja Warrior at the time, but I'd never done anything Ninja Warrior wise. I couldn't even tell you what booths were along that way. Like, cause the whole time we're going booth to booth, I'm just like, oh, yeah. And even my wife was like, you just want to go do the wall, don't you? So, yeah. Right. And the cool thing was, so I go down there, I get to meet him. We're talking a little bit. And he's like, well, why don't you give it a shot? And so I hand my phone to my wife. I was like, hey, make sure to get this on video. Like, when I get it, I want to get it on video. Right. Run 1, right into the wall. Right. Run 2, didn't make it. Run 3, 4, and 5. Finally, like I get to a point, and he's even telling me, he's like, dude, like, you're tired. Like, just stop. Right. You're not going to make it.
You've embarrassed yourself enough. Yeah. Get out of here.
Exactly. And on top of that, I had America's Toughest Mudder coming up like within like 2 weeks, or maybe it was the Beast. It was one of those. I had a race coming up. My wife was like, hey, you don't need to injure yourself before this race and then not be able to race. Right. And so I remember like, that day ended, we go back the next day and everybody's kind of halfway packing up. Some of the booths are still set up, and he still got the warp wall set up. And he was like, you want to give it another shot, don't you? Yeah. And my wife was looking at me like, really? And I told her, I was like, 1 run. If I don't make it, we leave. Right. She's like, all right, cool. And so, man, like I knew, I was like, it's got to go all out. Like it's got to be everything. Right. And fingertips, brother, fingertips. Like I grabbed it and I was like, no. So the other hand, and got up the wall. And at that point, man, I was just hooked.
I'll tell you, like, that's the point of like, I talk to everybody who does all these different sports, and everyone has that moment who I've talked to so far. And I think any athlete anywhere, or anyone who does anything where they're pushing themselves, has that moment of that just, wow. Like, it's like a drug. It really is. It's like you chase that dragon. But the difference between like doing a drug and what you're talking about is you can actually catch that dragon through sports. You know what I mean? Like you can consistently get that feeling of crossing that finish line and that sense of accomplishment, and I can't believe, I was talking to, I forgot, one of my friends the other day about, I can't believe that people actually live their lives and like actively avoid that feeling because of the fear of failure, or of the fear of the unknown, or the, you don't want to work to get to a point like that. Like, oh, it seems like it's a lot of work to like, be able to have that ability to finish a Spartan race, or, climb that wall, or whatever the hell, it may be. But I feel bad for those people, because that moment is like, that really is all encompassing about like what you do. You wouldn't be a CrossFit coach if it weren't, think about all the steps that led you to that point. Well, it's,
Yep.
Small steps of achievement and, and conquering just small goals that have accumulated to this point where now it's a part of your being. It's a part of like how you identify. And I just can't believe that people don't push themselves to a limit like that. And I love stories like that. I just find that that's so cool.
For sure, man, for sure. But yeah, as far as the ninja, again, it's something that's an aspirational. I'm getting there. Like, I plan on training more as I get to that point. Hanging, grip strength, all that stuff. Because again, it's all, from CrossFit, grip strength and weightlifting, to OCR, grip strength and obstacles, to ninja, grip strength and the ninja obstacles.
Yeah.
Right? It's all kind of related.
Well, and that's what I was talking about is that's what really intrigued me about this too, because I do love the competition aspect of it, but I like trying new things and new challenges, but I don't want to have to completely learn a new skill that's completely foreign to me as well. So that's why the whole world of this obstacle course racing stuff really intrigued me because of triathlon. It just kind of fit. I think of it like a big pie, it just, the slice just kind of fits right in, as to like what a complete athlete. It's not like I'm, trying to learn the shot put or something that is like nothing to do with the type of life that I'm living right now,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm excited about. But I'll do that, man. So I'm getting married October 1st in Buffalo.
Hey, congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a nightmare. We were supposed to get married June 12th, but how do I put this? New York's reacted to the COVID a little bit differently than Texas did.
Yeah.
So, it was a nightmare trying to plan a wedding. Yeah. I think you know what I mean. But it was a nightmare trying to plan a wedding in New York. So we just had to, delay it. And you never got a straight answer about stuff. So October 1st, it is. It's in stone, so that's awesome. So the dates line up, perfectly, for that. And it's in Dallas, man. So that's where I live. I'm in Frisco, but it's like 40 minutes north of Dallas. But
the one thing you'll learn too with obstacle course racing, when they say, "Oh yeah, Spartan, Dallas," it's really like an hour outside of Dallas or an hour and a half. It'll be a little bit of a drive just because they have to find somewhere to run you 13 miles, right?
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of land that you can just plot a 13-mile course. So they got to take you a little outside of Dallas.
Well, it's funny that you said Glen Rose because me and my the guy at the race I was talking to on Saturday or Sunday, he was actually telling me about Glen Rose. There's like some big zoo there or something like that, and he was saying there's like you can look at dinosaur bones or something.
I think they have like a natural bridge cavern or something like that, where they have like the old stalactite caves and everything that you can go. I think that's around there. I know there's some near the Austin venue. I'd have to go back and look. I've heard of the zoo deal, but I'm not sure about the dinosaur thing. It wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot of beautiful countryside out there.
Yeah, I got to get out. I got to explore more. The reason I moved down here is I worked for FC Dallas, the soccer team down here.
Nice.
And then it's just funny how life works out, man, because we worked down here to work for them, and then the pandemic kind of took care of that. So then, I had to shift gears. So I got a good job now that really isn't too labor intensive, so it allows me to like do all these different things while still making a great living. And it's a slippery. So now I'm going to be pursuing my personal trainer certification, and I'm a big YouTube guy, so I like to, as of recent, so I've learned video production, and I'd like to make like workouts. And like one of my goals is I'm going to start making workouts that you can do at home with one piece of equipment, so you can get like a full body workout with a 20-pound slam ball, and walk you through it, with a Bosu ball, all kinds of different, just one piece of equipment, so, because I know, and my thought process is all these people from the pandemic bought a bunch of equipment, a lot of work, at home workout equipment, so they're just maybe now just sitting on it, it's like, maybe it was like a knee-jerk reaction. My gym's closed, so I'm going to go buy a bunch of stuff, and I don't know what to do with it, so there might be a market for it. If not, maybe if I could get one person to, be excited about it. But that's kind of my goal. But I don't know why I went off on that tangent there. But
no, that's all right. It fits in with the whole Zig Ziglar thing, right? Like just helping out people get what they want.
Yeah,
get everything you want in life.
That's right. It's rewarding. I'll have someone DM me in the side here and there and just say, what you're doing is motivating. I really appreciate it. And that just makes it all worth it, because
Absolutely, man.
as you're up early every day. You got a million things going on. And then you got to find time to work out on top of all that. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that are going to a job that they don't enjoy, and then they're going home and they're sitting there and, rinse and repeat on a daily basis. So if you can serve as an inspiration, and I think that you're a great example of that. It's the more people that we can get talking and meeting each other and help sharing each other's stuff and kind of creating that community. I think that's the best way to go about making a positive change in the world. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, if for anybody watching, if you haven't run a Tough Mudder or a Spartan or anything like that, right? Like just start searching for it on Facebook. You'll find a community, and you'll find people. I mean, they have sign-up sheets. It's like, you want a battle buddy for Spartan? Like, sign up. I'll run with you. There are people who just, they're itching to get somebody out on the course with them. Yeah. So the community is awesome.
That's really cool. So what are the main ones? So there's, this, you said Savage, Bone Frog, Spartan, and Tough Mudder. Mm-hmm. And then are there any other ones that you?
So those are the kind of the big four that I've run here in Texas. Any of there's a few others that, like you mentioned, like terrain racing, that there's some that have gone under recently, and I haven't kept up with all of them. I think there's like Warrior Dash or one of those ended up going under. Tough Mudder almost went under about 2 years ago, right before the pandemic. Luckily, again, now Spartan and Tough Mudder are all under the same roof now. And so they're actually doing a joint event in Florida.
I saw that.
Which is supposed to be pretty legit.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out financially how to make that happen, because that's going to be a blast if I can get there. But again, like, those are kind of the big four. Each of those has its own kind of unique, benefit, if you will. So, check out all of them. If finances allow it, man, make as many as you can, because again, you're going to see a lot of the same people, like you mentioned, with the triathlete stuff. And it's just an encouraging community of people that just want to challenge each other, push each other, and help each other overcome not just the physical obstacles, but the mental block of accomplishing that obstacle too. So
that's awesome, man. Well, I'll tell you what, we're about an hour and 20 minutes in-ish. So I think it's going to be a good time. I think we touched on everything that I wanted to talk about. Did we not talk about anything, or were you prepared to talk about something we didn't touch on, or?
Man, whatever we didn't talk about, if we start DMing again, that comes out and you want to jump on again sometime in the future, brother, that'd be welcome.
Well, that's the goal. And I was just talking about the woman I had on last week. She's been to the Olympic trials twice for marathon, and she's trying to get to her third one, and she's 40, 41, somewhere in the neighborhood. So, again, kind of like falls into what we were talking about earlier. She's trying to kind of like redefine what it's like to get older, or what's possible. Yep. She's had 2 kids, and one of her qualifications was actually after she had a kid. So,
wow. Awesome.
Yeah, just super impressive stuff. But the point of me bringing her up is because what I told her yesterday, we actually just had the conversation yesterday, is what I want to do with this is kind of have friends of the show where we continue to talk about your experiences moving forward. So whenever you have a big event, hit me up. I'm sure I'll see it, but let me know when you got something big coming up, so we can follow up with you and talk about your progress. And you become someone that is on the show regularly. Maybe like 2 or 3 times a year, where we're tracking your progress, and you're walking the walk. You're not just talking the talk. So that's kind of the concept. Sure. So
we'll just kind of verbally say let's do it mid-November or end of November, right before Thanksgiving or something like that. We'll check in, because I'm going to be probably pretty beat up from a 10-hour Infinite Hero Challenge, raising money again for veteran suicide and that PTSD, and then 2 weeks later running a 30-mile ultra followed by a 13-mile beast the next day. So I'm sure talking will be about the only thing that I want to do for a few days.
It might be pretty cool, to be honest with you. If I do take on that challenge and do both of those with you, doing like a live show in person. Now that would
Let's do it, man. Cool. I'm down.
All right, cool. I gotta ratchet up my game here, because that's a lot of running.
Yeah, not too much. Don't make me look bad now, all right? So.
No, I don't think that's possible. But like I told you, it's funny because I am, like, one of my things this year too is I do want to start fundraising, and I've done a couple events. I did the 4x4 by 48 challenge this year for charity.
The David Goggins thing?
Yeah, that was brutal. I did a stream with charity for it's called Kilos for Kiddos for St. Jude.
Nice.
I did, I was on my bike. I was a part of like a weekend long like chain of streams. I'm doing, and this on the 4th of July, it's not a charity thing, but I just like doing these little events and live stream them. I live in down. Have you ever been to Frisco? Do you know anything about Frisco?
I haven't been to Frisco. I've been all around Frisco.
Okay, so Frisco has like this little square, like town square, and one lap around this little loop is a third of a mile.
Okay.
Roughly. So I'm doing 52 laps around that little loop. Excuse me. On the 4th of July, because it winds up being about 17.76 miles. For the 4th of July.
Cool.
So I'm going to live stream that. My fiance is going to kind of MC it. For the Bills home opener, I'm doing a thing called the Stampede to the Stadium. So I'm going to fly to Buffalo, and it's a 14-mile run from North Buffalo to Orchard Park, where the Bills Stadium is. And I'm going to make that a big event, and we just have like a huge line of people just kind of running to the Bills Stadium. Then we're going to tailgate, before the game. So
nice.
I like these events. I like doing these things, and the OCR stuff just kind of fits right in with that. So not to beat a dead horse, but I'm really looking forward to the next one, and I'm definitely going to train for it and at least do one of those with you. Maybe not both, but we'll see. We'll see how we're doing.
That sounds good, man. I look forward to it.
But thanks for watching. I'm going to put all the links that we talked about in the notes, as well as his personal information as well. What you got? Instagram, obviously. You got Twitter. I don't know if you have Twitter.
Not a big Twitter person.
No,
so
okay.
Just not enough for me to keep up with.
You got the link tree. I could put the link tree, right? That's got everything that, right?
Yeah, I'll make sure to update it too.
Cool. And then is that your logo that's on your hat right there?
It is. So that is my personal logo.
That's sharp. I like it. Sleek.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. And Neil, thanks for your time, man. Much